أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Indeed, all praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him. We seek His assistance and we seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah from evil of ourselves and outcome of our own wicked deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can misguide. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide, there's no guide for them. I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped except for Allah, and that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His last and final messenger sent to mankind. O you believe, fear Allah as you should be feared, and do not die except as a Muslim. O mankind, we revere your Lord who created you from a single soul, and then created from it its mate, and then from them both we created many, many women. And fear Allah to whom you demand your equal right, and do not cut off the ties of kinship with the womb that bore you, for verily Allah is a watch over you. O you believe, fear Allah and say a word that is straightforward and truthful. يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ. He will guide you to righteous actions. وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ. And forgive you your sins. And whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, indeed they are the successful ones. As for that which follows, the most truthful speech is the Book of Allah. And the best of our guidance is the guidance of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the most foul and wicked and blameworthy of affairs is a bid'ah, a newly invented thing into this affair of ours. For every bid'ah is a dalala, and going astray, and every dalala will take you to the fire of hell. Inshallah ta'ala, I will try to be as brief as possible, and hopefully it won't be like any substance, even though I won't be able to do too much justice in the subject matter. So again, for us, as we're reminded after coming out of our blessed month of Ramadan, if we're reminded about the analogy, and I don't remember because I've heard it many times, but I know I heard it here before. I don't know who the speaker was at one time, but he was given an analogy of how, during the month of Ramadan, it's like we're being recharged, and it's been said many different kinds of ways, but in one way that most of us can relate to, is charging up your cell phone. All right? Get low battery, you plug it in, and you charge back up. And, you know, when we look at the month of Shawwal, when we look at fasting those 6 days and seeking that reward, if we can, if we're able. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us for our niyah, if it's a true niyah, right? Because a true niyah is what? You really want to do it. I remember when the brother was given the khutbah for the Eid. And the brother was remarking on how he felt coming out to the masjid for the salah and praying the water and being there for all of them. And how it was something that was refreshing for himself to be able to do that. Right? It's amazing. In reality, by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, he was there because he wanted to be there. The same way when we don't want to be late for work, we make all the preparations to make sure we're not late, or we don't get caught in that traffic jam, or we make sure that we have salt when it's going to snow so we don't slip and fall on the ice when we come outside our front doors. The famous ayah in Surah Al-Tawbah, right, is what? Had they truly wanted to go out in the cause of Allah, they would have prepared something for it. We make all the preparations in the world for everything. We make all the preparations in the world. We prepare, we prep, cook. There's prep work in the kitchen. We prepare for everything. But what are we preparing and what are we putting forth? Some of us have 401k plans. Some of us have brokerage accounts and all different types of other things, where we already allocated a certain amount of funds to make sure that this or that is bought or sold, or this or that. We put this much in so the company matches this or that or whatever, right? We have them. We plan it. We say, I can spare this much. This is how much I can put forward for this or that. Because this is our mindset sometimes. And I'm not trying to ridicule or you know, come down on anybody for anything or nothing like that. I just want to pick this perspective inside of our mind so that we can actually look at it and realize, wait a minute, because we don't want to get caught up in this gurur, right? This delusion, as if this means something. I'm always reminded of a quote by Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah ta'ala. Imam Ghazali, he had a quote in his book, Ihya Ulumuddin. And in his book, Ihya Ulumuddin, he remarked on how when he went out and examining different religions and looking at their aestheticism, right, meaning their spirituality, their deep spirituality, and he had a story about Isa alayhi salam that came from, I don't call them the Nasara, I'll just call them Christians, because the Nasara were believers. So these people told him a story. And the story they told him, they said about Isa alayhi salam, he once asked them, he showed them a piece of gold and a rock. And he asked them, which one of these things has value? And he said, the gold, of course. It's the person who told him. And Isa alayhi salam, it is said by them that he said, they're both the same to me. He said, they're both the same to me. Because in reality, it's just a rock, right? Gold is only given something because of its scarcity, because it's scarce and we like shiny objects, and because it's really just a rock. Diamond is just a rock. These things don't have any value. But the niyah can amplify something. The man that gives $100, one guy gives his last nickel. He may have many hundreds, but that's his only nickel. But he sought the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. He sought Allah's pleasure for that. So the value of things. So now what value do we place inside this body that we have? What sacrifices are we willing to give? Some of us say we'll give our lives. Right? We will lay down our lives for the cause of Allah. We will die for the cause. Why won't you live for the cause of Allah? When we go through Ramadan, we're looking for, we want to get, charged. We want to find a way to stay charged. We want to find a way to stay connected. We recite, we stand, we make dhikr, and we repeat dua after dua after dua. Right? We make all these different dua. We call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then after that it's over. And then we go out throughout the year, we end up back in a slump sometimes. Because we forget. Or we're constantly not hearing the reminder. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So I asked a question. I have a few questions to ask. And I pose these questions because I pose these questions to myself, of course. And these questions are not to be, to point at a person or to point at a particular, situation that a person may have internally. I don't know what's going on inside your life, nor do you probably know what's going on inside mine. But I ask these questions because these questions are not only thought-provoking, but they're something to consider. One question I ask is, have you ever heard of Hadith Qudsi? Say Alhamdulillah, right? Have you ever heard of Surah Al-Baqarah? Say Alhamdulillah, right? Surah Al-Baqarah, right? Say yes, heard of that. I've read that before. Well, there's a Hadith Qudsi, and we know Hadith Qudsi is actually the actual speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's not the same what Rasul said. It is what Rasul said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, that it's not a part of the Quran. Right? This is actual revelation. So one of my most favorite hadith is this one in particular. This hadith is the first hadith. And it's narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لما قضى الله الخلق كتب في كتابه على نفسه فهو مضوء عنده إن رحمتي تغلب غضبي. In this hadith, when the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that the Messenger of Allah said that when Allah decreed to create the creation, so when Allah decreed to create creation, that he pledged on himself by his writing in his book that his mercy precedes his wrath. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote in his book and pledged on himself that his mercy precedes his wrath. This hadith, when I read it many times before, but when I read it a few years back, it struck me as an amazing moment in the period of creation, because this hadith, it really is thought-provoking in terms of when you think about how just is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at his justice. Justice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just. We say this, right? Allah is just. Allah is just. Allah is just. But who would be there to have any discrepancy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he pledged on himself that his mercy precedes his wrath? So mercy first before punishment. Mercy before punishment. Mercy before punishment. If we take account of ourselves and we consider some of the things that we've done in our lives, or even if you look at shortcomings, and I just don't mean if we just look at the sins that we commit. I'm saying in our shortcomings, in our imagine, if you will. If you can imagine this, imagine you get up for Fajr, you're a little groggy, right? You struggle to get through the wudu, and then you takbir, and you start the salah. You go through the whole salah, feeling this kind of way. And most of us, some of us, we've done this before, sometimes many a time. Right? Alhamdulillah, we even got up and prayed on time. And we go through the salah, and by the time we taslim, we don't even remember what we recited. So now we've offered something less than perfect, which is what we strive for perfection. If the niyah was correct, we would have been better than that. If the niyah was for us to get up, because most of us sometimes, we don't always get up in time for salah. We don't always go to the masjid for salah. We don't always make a way for ourselves. How many times when you walk past the sadaqah box? I've done it. Walk past, no money. Why you didn't put any money in your pocket before you left home? You can remember to take some money before you go to work. You can remember to take something out for X, Y, and Z, but you cannot remember to have something when you enter the masjid. No matter how small a paltry that you may think it is, it's the niyah. You're putting something forward for yourself. We just went through the whole blessed month of Ramadan. And really, what have we learned? What have we truly accomplished? And I'm not saying this to beat anybody up. I'm saying this so that we can wake up and not miss our opportunity. I'm saying this to myself. There was a time when I used to try to struggle to find a way to make sure when I went to the masjid, I had a few dollars. And I would teach this to my children. Hey, you got some money or something, you got to go to the masjid, have something. Have something. Because there's always a dua that you want to make. And do we know one of the traditions of the Sahaba and the Salaf is that when they had a dua that they wanted to make for something, that they would give sadaqah and make the dua. What's purified from that? First, the niyah is purified from that. SubhanAllah. It's not done so everybody can see. It's not done so it's like, oh yeah, I gave and such and such something, dropped something inside the bucket or the whatever it is, the box. It's no. You came with determination. You prepared something for that dua, and then you made the dua. In the best state, you were giving when you did it. No matter how much it is. Because you don't care if they saw you give $1 or a dime. Because the niyah was behind it. It's what I had, it's what I got, and I'm going to give it. Don't let shaitan fool you and say, oh, everybody's making sunnah after the salah. I'm not going to do it because everybody else is doing it because I don't want nobody to think that I'm doing it because everybody. SubhanAllah, you just got conned by the ultimate con man. You've just been conned. You've talked yourself out of doing something that's good. He whispered to be treated, and you follow it. This is what we do. Imagine, if you will, right? Think about this. What if, because this is what they say in speculation, right? When they're dealing with investments. They say, hey, if you would have invested this in 1990, you would be a gazillionaire, right? You would have this much money if you bought Apple stock or this or that, whatever, right? They give you all these examples of what ifs, right? So I say, what if? MashaAllah. This is where it's going, right? What if? What if, I don't know, $5? You had $5, you had $2, you had 50 cents, a quarter, a penny. Went towards the heating and air conditioning system because you put it in and you wanted to put in for that, and they went in for that. And what if one believer, let's just say, was standing under this vent, and they received some type of comfort from that while they were fasting? What if it was Laylatul Qadr? What if the rug? What if the chair? What if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw fit to reward you as such as the niyah that you had? What if the hellfire was standing right behind us? What if one tear for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could save us, as we know that it could, from the fire that nobody wants to go to? What if instead of wanting to be rich here, we want to have riches and riches with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because we know giving sadaqah, you don't lose anything. You'll get a reward in this life and the hereafter. I've never had a loss in giving anything in sadaqah, but I've always come up short. Because it's never enough. There was a post about on Facebook or something about what was the question? It says, are you proud to be a Muslim? Are you proud to be a Muslim? Are you proud to be a Muslim? And one person remarked and said, no, I'm not. He said, I'm grateful. So I'm grateful. So I'm not proud to be a Muslim, I'm grateful. Alhamdulillah. That's what he said. Because, of course, there's some izzah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that gives the izzah to us. And sometimes we have weak iman. Our iman is strong in different circumstances. And when it comes time for the test, like when it comes time to offer your salah at the proper time, and you're in a place where it may not be comfortable for you to offer the salah because of the atmosphere. Because sometimes we create these things inside our minds sometimes. We make it hard to say, you know what, I gotta pray, but I ain't got nowhere to pray. Yes, you do. A lot of times we go to some of these workplaces and we have a job somewhere because we work for people sometimes, and we never establish that, hey, I pray 5 times a day at certain times. Hey, I fast for the month of Ramadan, so I can't take my break at this time. I need to take my break at this time. Hey, them 2 15-minute breaks, instead of me taking those breaks, I'm going to go make salah. So that's how I want to break my break down, because I'm here for 3 salah, I'm here for 1, whatever it is. And all it takes is one person to establish that for all of us. Because once one person does that, then it sets up, and look at the reward that person would get after that, because they paved the way. They paved the way. I marvel sometimes with the brothers and sisters in this masjid. My elders, my beloved elders. I marvel at your history. And I have good hasad. What you brothers and sisters experience, what your families experience, living history. And what you established, and even in age, sickness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, something special. You provide a place for all these years, and you're still here. You have a legacy, and I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants you all wide, spacious grace, forgiveness, because the proof of this is when we go and look in Surah Al-Baqarah. In Surah Al-Baqarah, and I will practice inshallah. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He outlines and details who this book is for and who it's not for. Who will be guided by it and who will be set astray by it. Who will not be able to grasp it and who will. If you look at maybe the first 20 ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah, and we go back and read and reflect upon what's said in those ayat, you have almost every description of the believer and the disbeliever and who will be guided by this book. We read it during the month of Ramadan, or did we just skip over it? Because this is very, it's defining. And I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may Allah make what I say truthful. Because to me, what I see when I look at you, brothers and sisters, are my elders. This I see the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I see it. I'm able to know what it is by seeing you. So whatever you may lack, or whatever you think that you may lack, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has you covered. Your efforts are not in loss. Your efforts will never be in vain. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for our sins, past, present, future, open hand in the parent. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on our brothers and sisters who preceded us in the Barzakh. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cause us to honor our elders and honor those who have paved the way for all of us, our mothers, our fathers, our aunts, our uncles, our brothers, our sisters. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cause us to be better and do better, and cause us to take the guidance which He has sent for us and never trade it or turn our backs to it. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.